Hello, and welcome to the Matanuska Glacier Tour Overview. My name is Kel Thompson, Alaskan tour guide, founder of GreatDayAK.com and MatanuskaTours.com and WhittierTours.com. I do cruise ship transfers and tours in and around Anchorage, whether you're going to Seward or Whittier or to the Matanuska Glacier. Those are kind of my staples. But this is a quick overview of the Matanuska Glacier Tour because it's kind of a long day. And a lot of people often have a lot of questions about how it works. So I wanted to sort of go over how it looks, what the different seasons are like, whether it's winter or summer. Those are the main ones, obviously spring and fall. But those are sort of variations of the winter and summer. The different options that you might have, what the drive is like, how the hiking is, and what you might want to wear or bring. So let's start with kind of your options. You can go to the Matanuska Glacier directly if you want to rent a car. You can do that. It is mountain roads. It's a little bit over 90 miles to get there of driving. So a good little over 2 hours, because it's not like you can just go 65. Again, it's a 2-lane road winding through the mountains, the Matanuska, basically the valley following the river up there. And the roads are pretty good generally in the summer. In the winter, it's anybody's guess. We often have fog, snow, ice. We had a lot of wind this year, heavy gusts. So it can be pretty daunting to drive it in the winter. These are all reasons why you might want to go with a company like mine, preferably, but there's a number of us. But that way you leave the driving to us. We do it quite often. I've been there probably 100 times, and this is now my 4th winter in Alaska. And if you drive it yourself, you are, sort of going to have a very long day and not be able to relax and enjoy it quite as much, but it is a possibility, and you can go there and pay directly to take the tour. If you book with me, I usually leave about 10 a.m. Some of the other companies leave earlier. I can leave earlier if you have a bigger group. Just ask me, reach out. But generally, I leave about 10 a.m. If I have multiple groups going in the same day, I might message you to leave or be picked up a little bit earlier. That way, we are leaving town at 10 a.m. That gets us to Palmer, the town of Palmer, about halfway, in order to pick up some snacks, use the restroom, have a Starbucks there. And again, that's like halfway. And on that drive from Anchorage to Palmer, I usually tell you all about Alaska, the history, the industry, the mystery, all of the different various interesting parts of Alaska. And then from Palmer to Matanuska Glacier is usually just over another hour. And at this time, you guys just relax, enjoy the drive, maybe listen to some music. And once we get there, we do paperwork. So we do have liability waivers for my company and for the glacier that says that you accept responsibility for yourself while on the glacier. And this is important to note because once you get out there, you do have people looking out for your safety, but ultimately you are responsible for it. So if you step off the trail or if you have any problems while you're out there, ultimately you're responsible for your own safety. We are there to help you along the way. I often mostly go out with my tours as well, but they do have their own guides there. So this is how it looks once we get to the glacier. How it looks is we will do the paperwork. My entrance fees are included. Your entrance fees are included in the price that you pay for me to take you. And then we go to the next stop. There's a couple stops there. There's like a dirt road, really cool, and a couple bridges we go over. And then ultimately we end up at the glacier, and they have another building there where we'll meet your glacier guide. So again, these guides hike the Matanuska Glacier daily. In the summer, they have hundreds of people there every day. And they're out there walking it. They do a lot of preparation for the trail to make sure that it's as safe as possible and climbable so that anybody can climb it. I've had 5-year-olds up to 75-year-olds out there, all successful. Have I seen some injuries? Yes, I have. Of course, it's on ice. People can slip, people can fall. So we go over sort of a safety sort of tutorial and make sure that everyone is safe as possible. In the summer months, You do walk down to the glacier, and that is like maybe a quarter mile, something in that range. And it's an easy walk down to the glacier. Of course, you do have to walk it back out. In the winter, you get a snowmobile ride because everything's covered in snow. But in the summer, it is dirt and rocks, mountainous. So you are walking down to the glacier. And once at the glacier, you get your micro spikes or your clampons. Of course, if it's winter, you put on those micro spikes and clampons in before you leave on the snowmobile ride down to the glacier. And then you spend about 2 to 3 hours on the glacier with the glacier guide and with myself. I usually am a back guide. I walk behind everyone. And I always recommend if you're out there, you're feeling unsteady, take a hand. You know, people are there to help you if you're going up or down certain things. And how physically exerting is it? You don't have to be like a super athlete. You know, obviously all fitness levels do it all the time. There is some uphill climbing and some downhill climbing, so it's not uncommon to get a little bit winded for almost anybody. But there are frequent breaks. You're only going to walk like a couple miles while you're out there in the 2 to 3 hours. So if you average it out, it's like 1 mile per hour. You're going slow, carefully, and you're stopping and taking breaks, and the guides will tell you about all of the interesting educational items about the glacier while we're out there at each stop. And then ultimately, we end up back at the the building to remove the glacial spikes. And you can tip the guides while you're out there if you had a good experience, if you enjoyed it, and it's always a good experience. The guides are all very qualified and always do a great job. And at that point, you can tip the guides a little bit, and then we'll be back on our way, and it's about 2 hours back to Anchorage from there. And again, we can stop about halfway. And what kind of things might you bring? What kind of clothing might you wear? I always say it's about 10 degrees colder on the glacier. So you think it's a glacier, it's freezing. It is often very cold. Obviously, in the winter, it can be very cold. It can be minus 30. And then in the summer, it can be pretty warm. You know, I've been out there with a t-shirt and been fine. I've been out there in a t-shirt and regretted it. So it can be warm. So you want to bring layers in the summer. You're going to have a jacket. You can bring gloves. As far as like backpacks, you can bring them on the glacier. I typically let people do what they want, but my recommendation is don't bring a lot of extra stuff, because a lot of people end up out there with a backpack and they never need it. They never need anything that's in it. And it's sort of, as you're going and walking on ice, it's just an extra thing for you to kind of have to manage and balance with. And most people don't usually need anything out of their backpack. In the summertime, there's more rocks. You do wear a helmet. The rocks are there all year round. They're just covered in snow in the winter, so it becomes a lot safer. Everything's frozen over. There's no running little streams that are really pretty. You can drink from them in the summertime if you want. If you choose to, a lot of people do, and never heard any problems. It's all glacier water. And then, but in the wintertime, everything's frozen solid. So it's a lot safer. It's covered in snow, and there's a lot more access to parts of the glacier that might not be available in the summer. Like the crevasses you can walk through in the summertime, those become like melted. The floor sort of melts out. In the wintertime, it gets covered in snow, makes a nice path to go through the crevasses. And there's often caves in the wintertime as well that can be walked through or experienced, some in and out kind of caves, and some you can go all the way through. And it's always changing from 1 month to the next when I go there. It's often some things are closed, some things are opened. There's more access, there's less access. So it is two different experiences between the summer and the winter. The summer being more streams, more rocks, a lot warmer, which is definitely a benefit. And in the winter, there's more access, more caves that are possible, and things of that nature. But both of them are really wonderful experiences, but they are sort of two separate experiences. So as far as what to wear, always bring more, and you can always take off, a jacket or a layer. And in the winter, wear everything. And even I usually provide hand warmers for my tours that can go on the gloves, because the wintertime, it can get very cold. And a lot of people do like to come out over the Christmas break, which is totally fine, and just wear everything. Wear like you're going snow skiing, wear multiple layers, and a lot of people do that, and they can still be a little chilly, but you can always come off the glacier. They will get you off the glacier if you start to not, if it starts to get unpleasant, they'll take you back to the cabin. So that's kind of the overview. You can book with me. Again, I'm Kel Thompson, greatdayak.com, or matanuskatours.com. And I'd be happy to take you out there. I do have a minimum of 3 people. If I don't have at least 3 people, then it's not feasible for me to do the 8-hour tour. If you're only 2 people, you can call me and see if I have another group going out that you can join up with. And again, you can book at greatdayak.com or matanuskatours.com. All right, that's kind of the overview. Hope it helped. You can hit that like, comment, subscribe button, and I'll probably be posting more, about Anchorage and tours and things to do around Anchorage, Whittier, Seward, and glacier hiking. Thanks.